In this video, we are breaking down the arrangement of How Deep Are Your Dreams by Cloonee, and not just what happens, but why it works on the dance floor, so you can take these exact principles and techniques that Cloonee is using and then apply them directly to your own tracks. And just in case you haven't heard the track, here is what it sounds like.
How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams?
And then getting to the drop.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes. In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby.
So we're going to break down the track, and the whole point of breaking down the track is to understand the story of the track. And the story of a tech house track is driven by two main characters. You've got the hooks, so things like vocals and sound design that make your track catchy and memorable. And then you've got the groove, so the drums and bass that kept people dancing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to map out how the hooks and groove develop over time in Cloonee's track to tell a compelling story for the dance floor. And you can download this mini map, link in the description. So here we go. So Cloonee is interestingly using an HT2 formula. HT2 formula is just my name for the kind of common arrangement structure you find in tech house, where you have an intro, then you introduce the bass, then you go into a little bit of a break where you introduce the main hook. You get into a hook drop 1 right here, which is where the kind of groove and the big hooks kind of come together. And then you go into a main breakdown, which kind of separates the groove from the hooks in some way. And then they come back together in hook drop 2 over here, and then you just go into outro. And the simple idea of the HT2 formula is like you bring together the hooks and the groove here in hook drop 1. You kind of separate them a little bit because that's what people crave, and then you bring them back together in hook drop 2. And like if you understand that simple arrangement, like you're going to be in good shape in terms of telling a really compelling story with your tracks. Now, the reason why I break this down is because we're going to follow my little cheat sheet here for the HT2 formula, see what Cloonee is doing, seeing what he's not doing, just a little helpful kind of guideline. You can download this in the description below, or at least the link is in the description. But let's go ahead and start breaking this down, listening to Cloonee, checking out the cheat sheet, learning what we can. Let's go. All right, so cool. So a couple things we want to just kind of track right off the bat. We've got the really cool kind of like grungy, dirty kind of beat that he has going on there. And so we'll just map that out. And we want 8 bars to start with. There we go. Now, another thing you can hear is almost this sort of like radio texture in the background. And to me, it sounds like some kind of like radio that's run through like a beat repeat. He also has some really cool kind of panning on there. It reminds me of something like Brower from Waves. Michael Brower's plugin, which just does some crazy panning stuff. I'm not saying he's using that. I'm just saying it reminds me of something that plugin would do. But you know, you could do that with you could do what he's doing with like Ableton's Auto Pan or something. But okay, so this is just staying exactly the same. And, you know, this is really nice because a lot of times producers just kind of shoot themselves in the foot by being too creative in the intro. But you have to remember that intros and outros are for DJs, not producers. Cloonee's just making it real simple. The texture's cool. It's just like a little bit of a track identifier. But in the intro, what do we want to do? We want to hit them with the beats, just introduce the beats. Obviously, that just makes it easy for the DJ to mix in. We're not throwing in a bunch of hooks. We're not throwing in a bass line because that would conflict with the previous track. We're just introducing the beats. Intro hook tease is something that you can do. I don't think he's doing it. Let me see. Nah, he's not doing the intro hook tease. So we'll cross that out. Whoa, okay. Let's get out of here. 1Password. And, okay. Unique thing, he's got a unique thing, kind of the track identifier, which is the radio texture. And so there you go, radio text. Cool. And he's not doing an A section, B section. Typically what you could do is like a high pass kick and then go to a full kick. Doesn't really matter. Again, it's just the intro. Motif, something you do, a little bit of a hummable drum melody. He's not doing it. So right here, we just have the beats, some kind of unique texture in there, which could serve as a track identifier. But the key thing is, look, intros and outros are for DJs, not producers. Just keep it simple, make it easy for DJs to mix in. All right, cool. And now we're getting into what I call the bass drop. And so we'll kind of follow the HD2 formula here. And I will just kind of map these sections out. So this is going to be the intro. So we'll do intro and I'll color that on brown. And then here we get into the bass drop. And bass drop. There we go. Okay, so cool. And so obviously we still have the beats continuing, and then he introduces the bass line, or at least half of the bass line, because later on there's another kind of bass sound, a response to the bass that comes in. So I'm going to call this bass call. So now, one thing to notice is that the radio texture went away. So this is not like a texture that plays throughout the track. This is just something Clooney's going to add in for interest, for, you could say, macro interest. Like it's something that latches on, that you can latch onto at certain points in the track. So we'll see how that plays out over also. So I want you to hear how that goes away. Watch. So now all the attention is focused on the bass drop. And that's what the bass drop is. The bass drop is where you introduce the bass line, because what that does is it allows, or it teaches the people in the club, the listeners, how to move and groove and dance to the track before you throw a bunch of hooks on top. Now, some DJs will just mix in through here, play the bass drop. Other DJs will mix through the bass drop. So again, it's a good idea. Just keep it simple here, you don't want this part conflicting with the previous track. But anyway, here we go. Okay, cool. And so we are getting a little bit of a vocal here, which makes me want to go back to the cheat sheet and just kind of show you what we are looking to kind of do in a bass drop. Okay, so if we come back over here, we're now in the bass drop. And the bass drop is where we introduce the bass line, and only the bass line, at least initially. We want to teach people how to move, groove, and dance to the track before we throw hooks on top, literally what I just said. Throwing hooks on top is what the hook drops are for, and that's coming up. But here we can start to tease the hooks leading into the break. All right, so in the bass drop, what do we want to do? We want to introduce the bass line. And Clooney's doing that, of course, right? That's kind of the definition of the bass drop. And then one thing we could do is A section, B section, even in the bass drop. And so here in the bass drop A, we could say, this is going to be where it's just groove only. Or bass only, you could say. And then in the bass drop B, this is where you kind of start to tease toward the break. All right. And that's exactly what's going on here. Is he's starting to introduce the hooks. The hooks are going to play in full over here, but we're just moving people forward. It's creating that forward momentum. We're introducing things separately. So here's the beat. Here's the bass. Here are the hooks are starting to kind of tease their way into the track. You can hear right away, it's not like he's saying the lyrics, but if you didn't know what the lyrics were, you would have no idea what he's saying. It just sounds like gibberish because the delay that's on the vocal there. So we're gonna do like big delay for to mask lyrics. And this is just how deep are your dreams. And I'm actually just going to do male vocal because there's going to be a male vocal, female vocal in here. And so we'll kind of, differentiate them. And so then it moves to dry right here. So I'm just going to kind of do this. I'm going to do like quote dry because it's relatively dry. It's not perfectly dry, right? But we're going to do move to dry. There we go. Okay. Okay. And so A section, B section, we already have that. So the A section is going to be groove. And then the B section is going to lift your transition into the break. So lift is where you're going to add a new sound that lifts the energy. So in this case, that's a vocal. The vocal is a hook. It's a main hook of the track, and it's one of the biggest possible lifts you can make because it's a thing people pay attention to. Another kind of lift would be like, a bigger hat, a ride, a shaker, like some kind of drum lift, a percussion, whatever. But the biggest possible lift you can get is going to be the main hook of the track, and that's what Clooney's doing. But in a creative way because he's also throwing all this delay on top. top that's kind of obscuring what the vocal is. So it's kind of creating this cool effect at the same time. And the transition will typically foreshadow what's coming up in the break over here. Kind of foreshadowing because it's the hook. It's telling you what the hook's going to ultimately be over here. So, and it's transition. It's definitely transitioning because of the delay, the automation on the delay. So he's kind of just checking these boxes right here. But again, you're going to see this. I'll cover this stuff like almost in every breakdown. And it's always the same kind of high level structural things that happen, but it's done in a very unique and creative way. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. All right, cool. And so what about these other things? Corresponding drum lift with the bass. That just means when we get into here, there's going to be something that happens with the drums, but nothing happens with the drums. Punk's Edis ear candy, those are just small little things that happen. That's not happening. There's no entry either. Right? You can call that bass an entry, but it's really just the bass line. So I wouldn't call it an entry. So he's just doing the big things. All these little asterisks right here are kind of like optional, but these ones are usually going to be the things that are really important. Okay, cool. So let's keep on going. So now we're getting into the break. And what is the point of the break? The break is where we take the groove away and introduce the main hooks. Right? The idea is similar to the bass drop. In the bass drop, we only introduce the bass and we hold back on the hooks. Right? For the listener's sake, for the DJ's sake. But in break one, we flip this. We hold back on the groove, usually by high passing or removing the low end in some way, and we introduce the hooks. All right? So let's see what happens.
How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
Okay, so
how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
So what's happening there? Right? Are we getting the full groove? Absolutely not. Why? Because the drums are completely gone, right? The bass is still going, but the drums are there. So are we giving a break? Are we taking the drums or the bass or the groove? Are we taking away in some way? Absolutely. Are we keeping the groove alive though? Like especially early in the track, you don't want to completely remove the groove. You still want to have some rhythm going in a way from either from the bass line or the drums that doesn't completely stop the energy. And so what is still going? What's keeping the groove alive? Well, of course, the bass is still going, all right? And then the other thing we want to do is we want to introduce the main thing, the hook. Is that happening? Absolutely.
How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams?
All right, so this is going to be clear and full with delay, all right?
In the back of your mind.
So we've got the bass and we've got the male vocal with some nice delay on there to create a little bit of atmosphere, which is right here. Atmosphere, right? Comes from Vox delay. All right. There we go. Okay, what else is going on?
How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams?
Okay, and then you can hear that little siren coming up, which reminds me of the siren from Losing It a little bit. Just kind of like this nice detuned kind of thing.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep?
The stereo work in this track is so good. Like if you listen to the panning over here on the radio texture, like that's so cool. Like there's definitely some pitch modulation in there as well, in addition to the beat repeat, which is something you could do with Ableton's beat repeat plugin. But the stereo is what's so cool here. And similar with the siren's got some kind of cool stereo things going on as well.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your...
All right, so you can clearly hear the bass growing. If we play right here...
How deep are your dreams?
And over here, listen to the difference in the bass.
In the back of your...
All right, so the cutoff and res increasing, right? And res just means resonance. So he's just increasing the resonance on the bass, and that's just creating the intensity over time. Sounds like it sounds like he might be increasing the release.
Mind. How deep are your dreams? Mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
The release could be opening as well, but that might also just be a result of the cutoff opening, where maybe there's a release on the cutoff as well, and as the cutoff opens, it just naturally kind of extends the release time. But you know, maybe release too. You know, doesn't matter. Like you could either way would work.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your
Okay, so now this is unique. So typically in break one's gonna be like 16 bars. Typically, all right, that doesn't mean it's a rule. It just means in most tracks, break one is going to be 8 bars, where the first 8 bars is going to be your break, and then the second 8 bars is going to be your build, right, where you build towards the first drop. In this case, Clooney's being creative. He's elongating it, but the interesting thing is it's still going to break down to kind of the A-B of break and build, and so we'll look at that. But what's going on over here? So now he lifts with the drum. So let's bring the beats back in over here. We've got the bass still going. What else is happening?
How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams?
Okay, so now he's got some other kind of texture. I don't know. I'm just going to call this crazy texture. I think it comes up later on as well in the main breakdown, but let's see.
The back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? The back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? The back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? The back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? The back of your mind.
Okay, so this is actually a full kick, which is interesting in the break. Really cool. Bass is still a little bit high pass, so if we look at this...
In the back.
Oh, wait, actually down here it's not.
In the back.
Okay, over here.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
So you can see that he's been slowly high passing that too. So if we play the beginning over here...
In the back of your mind.
See that? Full sub down here.
In the back of your mind.
All right, but as we kind of move along, let's just play this maybe from here and see if that high passing happens.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
See that?
How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
So right at the end there, you saw there's almost no low end left in there. And so it's just slowly high passing up at the same time. That was freaking sneaky. I did not catch that initially. Slowly high pass up. Wow, that was crazy. That was, and then here we get the full kick, but there's no low end in the bass. Again, the whole point is give them a break. If we had the full low end of the bass and the full low end of the kick playing at the same time, we're kind of moving into drop territory. Now, this would still be in like a break, so it wouldn't really be a proper drop because we're definitely building towards something. But you can see that still, even here, we're separating the low end from the kick from the bass. In the beginning, the bass is playing here, low end, but it sneakily goes away through a high pass. Now the full kick comes in here, but the low end of the bass is gone. So again, the low end between the kick and the bass is separated, which is really what gives that break feel. When those come together over in the bass drop, then, or in the drop, that's when, you know, it feels like things are coming together and we're in a proper drop.
The back of your mind.
Okay, what's going on through here? This is really where we are really starting to build.
The back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
Okay, so this is high pass right here. We have this cool kind of ramp effect where, like, you know, you speed up the sound of something through, like, simpler. You know, you have a loop length and then you just close the loop length, or you get an arpeggio on a free rate and you just decrease the millisecond value. And so the sound goes dut-dut. It just accelerates over time. So we'll just do like a ramp effect here.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
Okay, we're also getting some up. Let's just do effects up white noise. And so we're just definitely getting some white noise in here. All right.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams?
So this crazy effects continues here.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your in the back of your mind.
Okay, the siren is still playing.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? 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 How deep are your dreams?
Okay, the kick comes in here, so I'm just gonna do like a kick roll just to kind of mark that. It's just moving it back in.
In the back of your mind. How deep are in the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Man, like this is so this is really cool. Like Clooney's he's just a creative dude. Like he's just a really good like when you listen to this kick here, he's playing with it. Like, listen to the kick just go away right here. Like, he's just automating up a high pass, and then it just comes back in. So it's not really a kick roll because I just played right here, and all of a sudden I hear the kick come back in. But you could just hear the kick go up through a high pass and then back down. So I'm also just going to write playing with HP on kick. Could be on the full beat, but I'm really hearing it on like the kick. Like,
How deep are your dreams?
so right here.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? How deep are your...
Do you hear that kick go away right there? Like, that's just a high pass going up, and then it'll come back down. Really cool.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your...
And then it comes back in.
How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes.
Okay, and then we have just like a little crash fill, and that's gonna be.
How deep are your dreams?
Let's see.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
So that's kind of your typical one, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? I get that right?
How deep are your dreams?
I think it's like this.
How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes.
Okay, no, I did get it. There's not a last one. And then we finally get that payoff, which is going to be the female vocal. So I'll just write F-Fox there. And so it's just right here. And then she comes in later, but that's cool. It's just a nice switch up, right?
Close your eyes.
So all this stuff.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
So the beats go away right here. Think there's no bass right there. No male vocal.
How deep are your dreams?
No siren.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes.
But the ramp slows down. So the ramp goes up and then down in speed. So
Close your eyes. Close your
okay, white noises in there.
close your eyes.
How deep are your dreams?
And I'm just going to say the crazy textures in there as well. And then we have the crash fill. We have the female.
Close your eyes.
Okay, man, extremely creative build. Super cool. And so what I'm going to do is this is going to be break 1. And this is going to be break 1. We'll do build 1. Build 1. All right. But break is like, you're just giving him a break. Build is where you create the tension. So right here, again, like this is so simple, but he's just doing it in an extremely creative way. So give him a break, yes. Keep the groove alive, yes, because the bass is still there, right? Bass. And then, okay, drum cut, right? And then introduce the main thing. Yep, this is going to be the vocal. So I'll do MVox for male vocal. And then build tension. So that's where we get into the B section. We can even add like an A-B structure here, which is fundamentally going to be break and build. And so he's doing that. And that, I should add that just globally on the cheat sheet. But then here in build tension, this is what the build is. So here you have rep, roll, rise, grow. We won't go too deep into that right now, but if we just look at the way that he's building tension, it's a lot of just like
In the back of your mind.
opening up the cutoff on the bass, just these kind of textures back here, especially with the kind of the ramp effect. Just the white noise going up too, that's a riser. Like all these things are just creating a lot of tension. And the grow, like the thing I hear a lot too is grow. He's just growing the space. So if I play this, kind of pretty dry compared to this.
How deep are your dreams?
Do you hear how big that space is? And that's just growing through reverb, endless smile typically, you know, like white noise, all that stuff. Right. And so let's see. So he's definitely building tension. That's what this whole entire section is right there. And then the next thing we have to do is let's just look at this transition right here. So PIPO or momentum transition. MO stands for momentum transition. But PIPO is pattern interrupt payoff. So here's this building pattern. And then right at the end, that pattern gets interrupted and then you deliver the payoff. So PIPO, pattern interrupt payoff. And so that's just something that will always hijack our brains because we have all this tension and we can't help but feel it. And then when that stops, it makes us pay attention. What's going on? And then when we're asking what's going on, bam, you get hit with the main kind of payoff, and then you go into the drop. You explode into the drop, and that's exactly what's happening here. But it's creative. It's done in a different way. It's actually kind of a smoother transition. Yes, the drum stops and the beat stops, but these effects textures still keep going. A little bit of a crash roll, and then we get hit with the female vocal. That right there is technically the pattern interrupt, because that's when this kind of stops. But then the crash fill goes, and then we have the female vocal.
Close your eyes.
Now that little kind of DJ scratch, or that reverse, you could say, either way, you can do that in Ableton too. It's kind of back here as well. All right, so same thing, just a little bit of anticipating what's coming down the line.
Close your eyes.
All right, cool. And so he's got the pipo, so we'll just write pipo, and then no entry into here.
In the back.
Nah, there's no entry. But all of this, he's just checking it off. All right, and then let's go into the next section. This is going to be hook drop 1, so I think that's going to cover it, but we'll figure it out. So this is HD1 for hook drop 1. We'll kind of chunk that up or break that up. But for now, what do we have to do? This is where the quote story begins. We've introduced the groove character back over here in the bass drop. We've introduced the hook character over here in the first build. And then in HD1, we bring the groove and the hook together for the first time. And this is what people want. They want the hooks over the groove. All right. And so if we play, does Cloonee deliver on the most important thing in a hook drop? Let's check it out. All right. So here we have the bass response now. And so let's just go ahead and move this over here. We'll just get rid of the text, go down like this. So one thing we can do is just quickly map this out. I'm not going to map out the pitch, just the rhythm. So then I'll go a little bit higher just to indicate that it's going high. All right, and then we have the kind of response rhythm from the bass in between those guys. So if we just play this now and map out the rhythm again. So on the offbeat right there. And then I think on the 16th right there. Okay, and then I think that it has its own call response. So let's play from here. And then probably here. Then he's going fast right there. And so if you look, that quickly skips up into the offbeat right there. So that's why you're going, ba-dum-ba-da, watch. Ba-dum-ba-dum, boom. So this note almost kind of like skips you up into that one. But that should map out the rhythm. Let's just check this out real quick. And I think I need to just shorten this like that, Command L. I think I need to just move this guy over to here.
In the back of your mind.
Cool. And that's basically the call response between the bass. You just got these two different sounds. Very cool. But that makes sense. Like in the drop, now we're getting the full groove, you could say, the full bass line. Here's just introducing the call. Here we get the call response, which makes up the full bass line.
In the back of your mind.
Okay, so now we're going to get the female vocal right here, but this is saying something different. This is saying like, close your eyes, I think. Is that what she says?
Close your eyes.
Yep, close your eyes. And this is kind of the main vocal, so I'll just start calling this title.
In the back of your mind.
Even though it's a call for the title. The title is How Deep Are Your Dreams. This is the call for the title, which is in the back of your mind. So I'll just write that, back of your mind.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
Okay, so now we're getting a crazy edit right here. I'm just going to kind of map this with a yellow color right there because this is just like FS for false start, crazy bass res. I'll just call it crazy bass res. There you go. And I misspelled that. There we go.
Yeah, baby.
Okay.
In the back of your mind, how how deep are your dreams?
A false start is where, you know, he's not going immediately into the groove in the next 8 bars. It's a false start because the drums are not starting there. Like not everything is there, but then we're going to get it back right there. So this will be the recovery for the false start. But
yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
hit. Now switching back to the male vocal.
How deep are your dreams?
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
Should I put that on another? Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to put this on, yeah, baby. Cool. I'm going to put that on its own channel right here.
Yeah, baby.
Because that comes up later on as a response. So that's getting introduced right here.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby.
All right, so let's cut the beat, which we have not brought over. So let's go like this. And then we'll just cut this right here. Cool.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
Okay, now we got a low siren. If you listen, this siren down here is an octave low. So we'll just call this actually low octave. If I play the siren back here, you'll hear it's higher.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
This is going to be an octave lower.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
Again, cool stereo work on that. It's just moving. It's just panning. And then like the vocals right down the middle, but it's got this nice delay on it. Just really cool.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your...
All right, cool.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
All right, let's map out just how deep here. Okay, and then we got the yeah.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
Okay, and so now the vocal goes away because we're kind of in a B section here, but this is just the third 8-bar section. And so what's happening here? Well, like I said, he's going to bring back the radio texture over here. And so let's bring that in. Why is that? So there we go. So that comes in. And then let's keep going.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
Low octave siren continues. So...
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
All right, and now we're going back into here. How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes. In the back of
Cool. And then we have the female vocal right here. And then this is going to be how deep are your dreams rep. And this with growing delay for tension. And then let me just map out the length of these.
How deep are your dreams? 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 How deep are your dreams?
close your eyes. In the back
Cool. And then we're going to get that kind of like, reverse kind of kick thing again.
Deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
close your eyes. In the back eye. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
So beat stops right here like that. And then we have, is there a bass?
Close your eyes.
No bass. Oh,
Close your eyes. In the back of your mind. How deep are your
How deep are your
Close
dreams?
your eyes. In the back of your mind. How
okay, cool.
How deep are your dreams?
close your eyes. In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
So really cool thing here is we're switching up the who's performing that vocal. In the first break, it's the male.
In the back of your mind.
In the main break, we get the female. That's super cool. But before we get into the main break and build, let me just map out where that happens, which is probably around right there. So we'll just do main. I'll just do MBB for main break and build. And what we can do is come back over here and just see what happened in the first drop. So hooks over groove. Absolutely. So here we got introduced to the groove over here. Here we got introduced to the hooks.
In the back of your mind.
And then here they come together.
Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams? Yeah, baby.
Right, the first time that we've got the hooks and groove together. Same with the female vocal right here.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams?
So that's the question. Is Cloonee putting the hooks over the groove? Absolutely. Now, this right here, HT1 equation, is basically saying what we've already said, which is, you know, the groove comes together with the hooks from the break in the first drop, and that's exactly what happens. A section, B section. So here what we have would be like a clean A that's defined by a single element, and then a clean B that's defined by a single element. I wouldn't say that's really going on here. Here we have female vocal, then we have male vocal alternating between phrases. Here the kind of radio thing comes back in, kind of chills out for a second, and then we get this kind of rep that kind of pulls you into the main break and build from the kind of delay that grows on there. And so I wouldn't really say there's a clean A section, B section. Here, there's just kind of 4 8-bar sections, and he's just kind of playing around with what hooks in there. It kind of reminds me of Pause's track. I forgot the name of it. Is it Cash something? But it just has this constant sequence of sections of hooks, which is really cool. So I wouldn't actually say there's an A section, B section here, which is, again, just creative execution. But is Cloonee doing the most important thing ever? Absolutely, and that's putting the hooks over the groove. And so I'm going to highlight that one because that is the king of the section. All this stuff is getting in too detailed. Yep, so we're not going to look at that. We are just going to look at the most important one right there, which is hooks over groove. And yep, so we've got a 32-bar section, and we have just these different little hook sections, little episodes, you could say, of hooks, kind of episodic in its presentation of the hooks. All right, so next, going into the main break and build. What is the main break and build? All right, so in the main break and build, we take away what they want. What do they want? They want the hooks over the groove. And we take it away just in some way. That could mean taking away the groove. That could mean taking away the hooks. That could mean high passing the groove with the hooks. It's just you don't get the full hooks over groove anymore in some way. And so the hooks over groove is a drug that people are addicted to. When we take it away, we build tension, but we ease into it and then prolong the return of what they want. Anyway, we just separate the hooks over groove, and then we just kind of start teasing it back. And this teasing it back through building tension just promises the listener, hey, we're going to give it back to you. The thing that you want, hooks over groove, that's coming back. And so that's the whole point, is we're separating and then bringing them back together. So let's see how that is all done. Now, probably the most important thing in the main break and build is going to be this guy right here, the V taper, which is going to be some kind of down energy and then some kind of up energy. And so let's see how that is performed. Let's see what happens.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes. In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
Okay, so this is clap. So right here, he's the transition. Let's talk about the transition into the main break and build. Several ways, well, really only 3 high-level ways you can do it. One is you just high pass the drums going in here. That would be removing the low end. Okay, so he's not doing that. A strip is where you just have kick, bass, hook right here. So if Cloonee was going to have his kick and bass under this, that would be a strip. In that case, you're removing the top end, but he's not doing that either. He's completely removing the groove, which is the cliff dive. So he's just diving into a hook. And a cliff dive, that's what you do, is you basically completely take the groove away, which means you are diving the energy into something. It's either going to be a hook or an atmosphere. And in this case, he's diving into the main hook, or like the female hook.
In the back of your mind, how deep are you?
And then about halfway through here, he just lifts with a clap just to reintroduce a little bit of rhythm, get that pick things up a little bit.
Dreams. In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
But this move right here is about as big of a step down as you could possibly go. And so right away, Clooney's stepping all the way down to the lowest energy state. Like sometimes producers will, like when you're coming out of the drop right here, you'll take a step down and then you'll take another step down. And then over here typically is where you're going to reach the lowest energy state. And then you start building that back up. But here Clooney's going right to the bottom. So this is really just the step down. And then everything from here is basically up. And so you could say it's like a skewed V-taper, because a V-taper could be kind of like even, where you're going down. So it would be something like down, and then this would be up right here. Let's just say this. Like this is even still slightly skewed because the up is so much longer than the down. But in Clooney's case, it's pretty much step down and then everything else is up. And so that's kind of how this is set up. Another track that's kind of like this is Appetite by Chris Lorenzo. He just goes immediately down. That's like what a cliff dive does. And then you just work up from there, kind of like just a completely progressive build. Not progressive in the genre, just progressive in the sense that it just keeps going up. All right, so let's see.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes. In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
So the question is, how does Cloonee keep stepping it up? That's kind of what's the implied question now. Is like if we're going to the lowest right here, because in main break and build, you're typically going from lowest energy point to highest energy point. So this here is lowest. You can see that visually to highest. You can see that through like kind of the density, and then also right there, of course. But yeah, so down energy is just one step to cliff. One step to cliff dive. Turning point, there is no turning point. Turning point is when you make the switch from down to up. This is the turning point right here for the most part. You can kind of maybe consider this. We'll look at that in a second. But the basement, yep, that's going to be right out of the gate. Up energy is just going to be basically this whole thing. And that's the question now is how does he keep progressively kind of building from this lower point? Let's see what happens. So here, number one, we get a clap. So there we go.
Dreams. In the back of your mind.
Boom. That's another step up. We're getting the bass. Are we going to get the call as well, or the response? Probably not. That's probably going to be saved for the build, or I'm sorry, for the drop, but you never know. We'll find out.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your
Okay, so similar move to what's going on back here. We've got 16 bars of a vocal repetition, and then the drums come back in. So over here,
In the back of your mind.
here the bass is going a lot crazy, plus there's a siren, but 16 bars in, we get the drums.
In the back of your mind. How deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
All right, so kind of a, structural symmetry there, but let's see what happens. Not that that's important, because that's not on the list. I'm just observing it, Okay, so here we go.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams? In the back of your mind.
Okay, so here let's just put like full beat, HP full beat, HP for high pass.
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
Ooh, now we're getting a call response between male, female. Was that anticipated at all right here?
How deep are your dreams?
Okay, no, cool. So I was just wondering if he hit us with a male vocal right there, but.
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
Okay, you can hear the siren coming up.
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Okay, so this is still low octave, which gives him the opportunity to step it up to a high octave for a lift.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
Okay, we're also getting the radio texture coming in right here.
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
Okay, you can hear the beats growing. So this is going to be growing. I'll just say like verb growing. You can also say washing out, endless smile, probably what it is.
In the back of your mind. In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
How deep are your dreams?
But even here, when we're building, And we should see right here. So building up energy. What's going on? Rep, huge rep, right? Because it's just the male, female vocal saying the same thing going back and forth. Roll, this would be like a kick roll, snare roll, crash roll. We're not getting any roll right now. Rise, we're not quite getting a rise yet. Maybe you can consider the bass opening up and cut off a rise because it is communicating up. But the big ones that we're getting are grow and rep. So I'll just kind of highlight those guys, or I'll just kind of bold them because... There we go. So these are kind of the main ones that we're getting. So let's see what happens over here.
In the back of your mind,
How deep are your dreams?
how deep are your dreams?
Okay, and then that crazy texture from earlier comes in. There we go.
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
Okay, so the vocal rep speeds up.
How deep are your dreams?
I think, right?
In the back of your mind,
Okay, so now this is back. So they're doing the full phrase. So we have the female call, and then we have the title response. And it's the title response because it's the title of the track. So I'll just go like this. But now that's switching up. So now we have title on the female, and then we have the title on the male. How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? And I'll just color these a different color over here. Come on, Ableton, let's go. Okay, here we go.
how deep are your dreams?
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 All right, so in this whole thing, I'll just say like cut off, res, and we'll just say release, opening. Okay, so there we go.
How deep are your dreams?
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 Okay, you can hear the ramp right there. That's going in there. I'm pretty sure the white noise is going in. These guys are still continuing. What's going on with the vocal?
How deep are your dreams?
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 Okay.
How deep are your dreams?
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 Okay, so on the male vocal, we have a how deep are your dreams? And then we'll do like a dreams ramp, where it's just like, you know, it's like a free rate arpeggiator. Okay, and then here we have our crash roll. Or I should say, this is really more of a fill, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The heck? Okay, I thought he had them on like non-beats or something, but then we have a little bit of a snare fill, so we'll put that in here. Snare fill. Okay.
Close your
Okay. Boom. There we go. Cool.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
Close.
So.
Close. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Okay, and then we get that kind of like reverse thing again, but we have the female doing the close your eyes thing. So let's get that in there. Close your eyes, or I'll just call it eyes. Okay.
Close your eyes.
So all this goes away.
Close your eyes.
So this again, a pipo transition. This is a more dramatic pipo than what came before. Over here, you can listen to it. It's smoother.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Close your eyes.
Here is more dramatic, right? It's more dramatic. There we go. Same thing.
Close your eyes.
Right? This is a little bit more of a wake up than what came before. You know, look at that. Smashed. Those are smashed. I just want to look at that real quick. Nice. Very cool.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
All right, cool. And so the main break and build, let's see what happened. So we had the V taper transition. This was a cliff dive. And so we'll just go like that. Turning point, yes, this is, the turning point happened where? This is like right away into main break and build because we're going immediately up. We had the pipo. This is going to be more dramatic than break one. And then elevation over B1, absolutely, because it's a longer build, it's more drawn out. We're elevating the pipo moment, no payoff extensions. That just means that you're not going to land the drop on time. Clooney's landing the drop on time. He just has a really long build. This is what, 40 bars? 48 bars. Damn, yeah. 32 plus 16, because this is 32 right there and then 16. So very cool. And so literally every box is checked in the main break and build. Every single one of them. Doing exactly what we need, which is just like down and then up. And then, all the building tension stuff that we need is there. But fundamentally, we have the break up till here, I would say. This would maybe be kind of like the break, and then the drums, when this comes in, is like that moment of commitment where we're committed to that direction of up. Here, we're just kind of like teasing things as it comes up. That clap comes in, the bass comes in, but right here at 128, at least or 129 where I am right now, this is that commitment to the build. And so I would call this the build. And this is where all that building energy happens. We got that rep, we got the faster rep, we've got the ramp effect on the male vocal, we've got all the growing tension in the drums, we've got that bass cutoff and resonance going crazy, we've got all this texture coming up. So this is absolutely, the build all across here, 32 bar build. And then we got that pipo moment, and then we go and explode into the drop. So what is the last drop? The last drop's really simple. This is what it's all about. Like the way I like to think about this is the punchline of the track. If you think about a track as a joke, this is the punchline right here, and everything else is setup. The reason why this works right here, the main break and build, is because of what came before it. Like we got teased on what the hook is. The hook came over the drop. We got really excited because, hook over groove, that's what we want. But then that got broken up. But since we know what sounds good and we know what we like, then we want that again. And so this is one big tease for us getting the thing that we want again, which is over here. And so this is the ultimate punchline of the track. Everything that happens before it is the setup. And so what we want is we want to deliver on time, but of course, it's still just all about hooks over groove. And actually, there's something really important to add to this, which is again. That's the most important thing right there. And I'm going to bold that. So there we go. So let's just listen. Do we got hooks over groove? Are we fulfilling on the highest level? Let's check it.
Close your eyes.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. How deep are your dreams?
Interesting that there's a lot of like inversion that Cloonee is doing. And what I mean is just inverting the male-female in different sections. So in the first break, you've got the male.
In the back of your mind.
In the second break, you've got the female. So there's an inversion.
In the back of your mind.
In the first drop, he's inverting from the male to the female in the first drop here.
In the back of your mind.
But then from the first drop, he's inverting to the female in the second drop. I'm sorry, from the female in the first drop, he's inverting to the male in the second drop.
How deep are your dreams?
Just interesting. Okay, cool. And then so...
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
Cool, and we'll just call that title. So title, cool, and then here we go.
How deep are your dreams?
In the back.
Okay, and we're also getting the bass response. I'll just copy over that MIDI because it's nice to see that. And then here we go. And anything else? What about the elevation? So one of the things we want to do in HD2 or hook drop 2 is elevate over HD1. And so typically like a ride or something, but in this case, I'm thinking maybe the bass cutoff is the elevation or is a elevation. Let's see. Hear that? Hear how the bass cutoff is a little bit more closed right here? Here is a little bit more open. It's just more exciting. And so that is a, I mean, I want to say subtle elevation because you might not have picked up on that, but it's a massive elevation because it's the bass and the drums are the only two things playing right here, and the bass is wide open. You know what I mean? So it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Fallon did in Diet Coke, because when you go into HD2 here, he made a little bit more of a show of it because like the bass is wide open and is over a strip drop, meaning it's just kick and bass. And so, but here is a similar idea.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
Okay, and then a similar move again right here in terms of the false start. So we'll just do this again, false start, FS, and we'll just go like this. So similar move as before. One of the things too is like we typically would want, let's see, why do I not have that here? Anyway, so we kind of want HD1 equals HD2 asterisk plus or minus. Okay, I'm not going to go too deep into that, but, you know, the thing is that we were introduced to a particular structure here in Hook Drop 1 that we liked, and so we want that again. Think about like a chorus in a pop song. It's always the same chorus, but maybe the production like enhances or elevates a little bit. And so the same kind of thing applies to like a dance track where like we really like this and we kind of want this again. But the thing is, Clooney's doing that, but there are, like I mentioned, some inversions. So here we've got the female vocal playing in the back half or the last 4 bars of the first 8 in Hook Drop 1. But here's the same structure. So we have the male playing in the back half of the first 8 bars, but similar kind of thing. And then we go into that kind of false start with the big bass resonance, but instead of getting the male vocal here playing the yeah baby, we're getting the female vocal this time. So again, another inversion.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
So this is the full phrase.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
And then once again, Clooney has the low octave over here, but he has the high octave over here. So that's another elevation, but it's still a structural callback or similarity to the first drop because now we're getting the siren. So this is high octave, but it's definitely an elevation. You can see how creative this is. Like I hope that the one thing you're seeing is like how all this stuff is getting like done. So what that means is the psychological experience is right for the listener, but it's all done in creative and unique ways based on the elements that Clooney's playing with. So
in the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
So now we're getting a call response. Is that what's going on over here? So in this case, we're getting a call response in the second 8 bars, but it's between the yeah baby and the vocal. But structurally over here, we're still getting a call response, but it's now going back to what was happening in the main break and build, which is between the male vocal and the female vocal.
In the back of your.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
In the back of your mind.
Interesting that whole kind of call response even starts back over here. The full phrase, full phrase, full phrase, full phrase. That's really clever.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
Okay, and I'm just going to mark that because that's just like a random fill, effects fill. Cool.
In the back of your mind, how deep are your dreams?
And then exact same structure. We're going back to the radio texture over here. We've got the high siren continuing. What else?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
Okay, and so now we're deviating. So now before we are going to what Cloonee was doing a little bit more of like a bridge, you could say, or a transition to the main break and build over here by getting this vocal rep, but he's not doing that over here because he's not transitioning to anything. He's just going to outro, which is more of like a settling of the energy than anything. And so here we're not getting anything, it seems like. Maybe we'll get a vocal back here on the second half. That seems kind of like a theme that he's doing, but let's see what happens. But this is a departure from what happened in the first drop. So, but it's a settling departure, meaning it's settling the energy a little bit more than what happened before. So we have low octave. Cool.
How deep are your dreams?
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 Okay, and then we have our little white noise sweep right there.
How deep are your dreams?
Cool, and then we have the low octave, we have the radio, and then what else do we have? Let's see.
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
And then we just have beats. So now I'm just going to go like this, consolidate. This is just going to be outro. And we'll go like that for brown. So beats, we'll just move those over.
How deep are your dreams? How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
How deep are your dreams?
And then just outro with a couple little vocally things there. Okay, so that is pretty much it. What are the cool things? Let's go to H. There we go. Man, cool things for me is like the inversion. That's the coolest thing. Number one is just that Cloonee is doing the HC2. So then over here we have HC2 equals 1 plus or minus. So we got the plus from the high octave. We get inversion, high octave siren. We got inversion with male, female, vox, a bigger bass, and then down minus, which means you're stepping down in some way from the front, minus in the transition to the outro, because he's not doing like this big rep that he did in the first one. We get A section, B section, no CLT stories. Elevation, he did do an elevation, and this from the open cutoff. We already talked about this cutoff in the bass. And what else did he do to elevate it? A high octave siren, which he stepped down. Front loading punks edits. We don't have to talk about that. All the important stuff was done. Outro. Intros and outros are for DJs, not producers. Groove, then beats. He's not quite doing that. He's just doing beats. And I would say there's a happy ending. That's really a stupid one. But like,
how deep are your dreams?
He's just cutting to that vocal and then that little thing. Like, it just makes it fun. But, you know, you could totally get away with just doing nothing but like groove and then beats. And he even has the vocal continuing through here, which, you know, if I was giving feedback to someone, I'd say, you know, just cut it, you know, like just make it easy for the DJ to mix in. That's not going to be too big of a problem, because even if the DJ is mixing into the next track, it's probably just going to be drums anyway. So you can get away with having those vocals playing. But, you know, if you want to keep it super clean, super safe, just cut that. Intros and outros are for DJs. So cool thing for me is that this is HT2, like to the core. Like Cloonee will usually do what I call HT3 formula. So if you look at like other Cloonee breakdowns I've done in the past, you'll see HT3. Also Fisher does HT3. Early like Resist by Max Styler is one of my favorite HT3s. But this is for the first HT2 I've seen from Cloonee, and he just freaking nailed it. And you can see that he's just checking off the boxes kind of across the board, especially the most important ones. But the coolest thing for me was the inversion. Like, I really like that, where you have the male-female vocal, and then you kind of mirror the structure of the drops over here, but you just flip who's saying it. So in the first case, if you have the male over here, then you just flip that in the second one, and you have the female. Also, the things I love about this is just the boldness that you usually find in Cloonee's track. That's usually what I think is just super bold, where you just have the most minimal elements, but they're presented in the biggest way. And so here you've just got that male repping the How Deep Are Your Dreams. Here, now you have the female doing it. Again, that's the inversion. And then just going into these epic builds, really just playing with the cutoff on the bass, and growing the space on the drums. But that's it. Like, just keeping it really simple but creative. Like, it's almost always the same takeaway. It's just like, you know, do the principles, execute on the principles, but just do them in a creative way. Like EOP, execute on principles. CEOP, creative execution of principles. It's just the same takeaway every single time. So that's what I got. If you got your own insights, leave them down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget, you can download this and the PDF of the checklist. And yeah, you got questions too, leave them down below. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.